Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very, this is probably the most special episode I've ever done, because if you're listening to this and you're thinking, what can we expect? Go over to YouTube and watch on there, because we are on the White Isle, Ibiza, and I'm here interviewing someone that I've seen grow from the age of about 18 years old. We both started out together. I was starting out as a DJ, he was starting out as a photographer, videographer, and I think we were getting paid like £30 a night. And now he's one of the most wanted men globally for large global productions. And his work is special. He's worked with some of the biggest brands globally, from nightlife to fashion, retail, you name it. And today I have the pleasure of sitting down with him and talking a bit more about that creative process, the sort of stuff that he had to do at the beginning to get where he is today, all the hard stuff that comes along with working for yourself, being an entrepreneur. So there's a lot of lessons that we can learn from this week's show, and most of all, living outside your comfort zone, going out, chasing your dreams and going and getting it, because that's exactly what he's done. This is his 11th year in Ibiza, and you know, he's grown every single year. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming this week's guest, Mr. Harry Russell.
Thank you, Danny. Thank you for introducing me.
How are you?
Really good.
Yeah?
I mean, you sold it really well there. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm a good hype man. Maybe that's what my
my
next career venture should be. But obviously people like listening in, and obviously I know you really well, but they don't. So just give us a brief overview, for 1 minute, who you are and what you do.
It was interesting now when you mentioned the whole known each other since we was around 18. I just had loads of flashbacks from actually where we started. It's just hearing that now coming out of your mouth and just having, even just sitting here now in Ibiza and having that perspective. It's actually crazy how much time can fly and how much your life can change, and especially if you apply yourself, have a dream and a vision. But my name's Harry Russell. I'm a filmmaker and photographer, based in Ibiza from the United Kingdom, Northampton. I work in the fashion and lifestyle sort of sector within videography. I'm also a mentor, so I mentor and teach other cameramen. I'm really into sort of health, wellness, fitness. Been travelling the world now for about 6 years, travelling around the world sort of full time.
Yeah.
Love living off the grid. I love to inspire and help people sort of see outside of the box that society puts on us with the whole sort of 9 to 5. You don't have to do everything they sort of tell us to do at school. And I was someone that did fail the school system massively. I did get held back 1 year, failing photography actually.
Really?
Did you know this?
No, I don't.
No, so I actually failed photography, Danny. I got a U.
A U? Wow.
Yeah, I got a U, and then my photography tutor, I said this on one of my videos, the Frenchman, he was like, "Harry, your work is shit." And he said that to me, and I was like, because I've got a father that's also not scared to just say how it is, I took it, and I was like, yeah, you're right, mate. I sort of looked at my work and thought, it is shit. And he gave me a U, and that's what I deserved. Made me repeat the year again. I still did shit, got a C. And from there, I went into university with filmmaking. I remember doing around, I think, one quarter of the year, and realised it wasn't for me. There was questions that I was asking my tutor. I realised that I felt like I knew more than the tutor in certain aspects, and not necessarily maybe for the business, but when it comes to creativity, I felt like I didn't need this, and sort of said to my parents at the time I was working in a sort of not a 9 to 5. It was more of a 6 till 3 in the morning, sometimes a midnight to 7. But I was answering telephones in a taxi office, and it hit me one day. I said to my parents, "Could you support me? I want to pursue my photography." And I was getting a little bit of. This is sort of when I met you, really. I was getting the little job here, and everywhere, like 50 quid here, 50 quid. And I thought, you know what, I want to take a risk. And I had the parents that supported it, and let me stay at home. So that there got me to where I'm at now.
What made you want to get into photography though? Because I think one of the hardest things I think that people listening into this as well is people struggle to find out what they really want. I mean, we've got a bunch of friends that I think still struggle to find out what they really want. So how did you find out what you wanted and understand that this is the path I wanted to go down?
I think part of it is going to sound funny, because some people would say I'm a workaholic and I work too much, but I'm also, there is a part of me that's really lazy, and I think, it sounds crazy, I do think sometimes lazy people have shortcuts, and I think me being a creative, I've always been into drawing, painting, I was into skateboarding, I was into taking pictures, making videos on my phone, I was into parkour, just anything other than just normal sort of work. And I remember, I think I was at the age of think I was at the age of 13, and at school they said, what do you want to be when you're older? You have to pick a job. And I was thinking, job? I don't want a job. You know, like, I remember looking at all the categories, and I saw the word photographer. I remember, and I thought, I could be a skateboard photographer. So like, they're like, what do you want to be? So I was like, I want to be a skateboard photographer. And they're like, all right. And I remember from that moment, I think photography was always in my head.
Yeah.
But if I actually take it back now, and I started thinking about my childhood, so, you know, there must have been an influence. Where did photography come from? And, you know, I grew up with my mum always taking photos of me. My mum always had a video camera in her hand. She shot my whole childhood. We got, you know, countless VHS tapes and, you know, mini DV tapes of my whole childhood. And I think maybe having the influence of watching my mum spending all that time with me, filming and documenting my childhood, I think that might have had an influence. So
that's cool, because you know, I think the thing is as well, like, we kind of forget like how important actually having a video or a camera is now, with actually just getting everyday memories. Do you know what I mean? Like, I remember when we came back from your birthday and I looked at my phone, I actually didn't have any photos. I was like, nah, but I was enjoying the moment. But it is so important for like that creative process as well, just to like, and everything now, if you think about it, it's like, back then maybe it wasn't as important, but now everything is important to being able to see online, like videography, filmmaking, all that sort of stuff. But tell us about the first job you ever got then, because, you know, I think especially now, I have a lot of Gen Zs that work for me, and they all want to get paid the big bucks. They want to go to university and then come in. And I feel like that hard work element has kind of like lost itself a little bit, because you mentioned you've got a lazy aspect, but, you know, all I see from you is you're quite hard working. So like, tell us about the beginning, the first job, how much you're getting paid, and what you actually had to do to like graft to get that job.
Right, when I started, cameras weren't as good as they are now. Like, for example, I can shoot in a nightclub now with a camera that can see better than my own eyes. When I started, that wasn't a thing, so I had to have like a big torch on a camera. But like, so I started. Oh, when did I pick up a camera? Like, try to do it professionally. Oh God, about 18 years ago when I picked up a camera. So the technology then wasn't how it is now, and also it didn't have you know, it wasn't easy accessible. Like, when I started, YouTube wasn't a thing. So if you think about that, there was no sort of like online education like YouTube. Facebook, people wasn't even posting videos on Facebook. This is really raw. This is back in MySpace, actually.
Mate, I mean, if we take it back to 2007, Facebook was literally just coming, because I remember I did my first season in Greece, and I remember people were like, you need to go get Facebook. And I was like, what's Facebook? But at that time, you couldn't upload photos. You could just post and just write a status. And everything was still taken on like the disposable cameras. But yeah, back in those days, there wasn't the social media that we've got today.
I'd say Facebook is actually what built my career. So I had no job. Like, there was no camera job that I had. I had to make the job. So I didn't know anyone. I didn't know how this works. All I knew was, let's print a business card. So I printed as many cheap business cards as possible. I saved all the money from my taxi office job. I was putting all the money into a tin, little metal tin. Every time I got a wage, I'd just put money into a tin. I brought my own laptop. That at the age of 18, I brought my first laptop, MacBook. I was like, I can't believe I've just done that. And I used to go to my local high street, and there used to be this clubbing photographer called Disco Henry.
Disco Henry.
Shout out Disco Henry. Because he inspired me at that time.
Is he still taking photos?
He's still there.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, shout out. I've got so much respect for him, because he's not the sort of person that ever saw me as competition. He was just so friendly, and I watched him taking pictures, and I was really heavily into boozing at that stage, at sort of 18, 19. I would actually go into the clubs now with my camera. No one booked me, and I was taking pictures of people and giving my business card, and doing that, I was able to get my Facebook known. My name was sort of known, and, you know, I wasn't earning any money. The first residency I got, I was getting £50 a week, and, you know, you know what it's like. We were grafting. Like, you was DJing hard, we were promoting. Yeah, we're like promoter, DJ, and photography combo, making no money, and I think the amount of work effort we had to put in just to maintain and get known, it was crazy, and I do feel like that's lost in today. Yeah, you know,
it's definitely lost. When you was a child growing up, like, did your parents make you do chores around the house and stuff like that? As old school as that sounds, I think that's...
They still do.
Yeah. As old school as that sounds, I think it's such
beautiful.
It's an important part of learning what. Like, I remember my mum, because obviously people that listen to podcasts probably know my story, but you know, my mum and dad broke up, and it was quite a volatile breakup, and I remember we struggled a lot. So my mum said, I remember her saying to me, and I thank her for it, because she said to me, if you want money, go and earn it, go get a paper round, go do this. And I had 2 paper rounds when I was like 12 years old.
But parents said the same thing. Yeah.
But I do, whilst it's such a small thing that people think of, but I think it's so important to setting people up for actually going on and grafting after that.
Yeah, I remember I remember little things like, you don't finish your food and tidy up your room, we'll take the PlayStation off you. And I'd be like, shit, there was always, if you don't do this, there's a consequence. Or if you do this, there's a reward. So like, you want some money to go to town, go and hang out with your friends, go and clean a car. All right, I'm fucking cleaning the whole car. Mum gives me £5, And there was never a moment where I was like, oh, this is shit, there was never like a negative sort of thought towards it. Whereas, like, for example, now my little brother, the youngest one, completely different generation. If you was to say, want a little bit of money, you have to do this job. There's a lot more resistance and a bit more like, oh, I don't really want to do that.
Yeah.
And the appreciation I don't think is there as much.
Yeah.
Doing the bins, doing the bins in the rain, putting the bins out and stuff, like little jobs. Not even for money, just like, and then go clean the house, go do the dishes after we've all eaten the food. I used to hate it, but.
Yeah.
If you don't have those principles, how are you going to be in your adult life? It definitely does help, for sure.
And obviously, you mentioned that you went to college and didn't obviously do that well there, and you started university, but you didn't end up continuing because you were like asking questions from the tutor and they didn't know how to answer. So, how did you actually learn to understand cameras, how to get the best shots, how to edit? Because I think that's a really important part. Because you can shoot as much as you want, but if you can't edit, you have nothing, right?
Yeah, you have to. I think, look, if you want to become like a doctor or a lawyer, you have to go down the education system. Whereas if you're a creative and you want to, or if you've got like a crazy business idea, or if you just got any idea and you think outside the box, I think the only way you are going to learn and for something to flourish, you just have to trial and test and mess around and accept that most of it's going to be shit and it might not be perfect, but you're going to find yourself in that way. Like, you could have someone teach you all those things, but for you to find yourself as an artist, it could be from making music, it could be writing poetry, it could be painting a photo. You've got to do it yourself. You've got to mess around. You've got to keep failing and be okay with it and go, this looks all right. I've got friends that so I've got a friend from my hometown. You know him, I'm not going to mention his name, but he's a music producer. He's so talented and he just sits on his music, and he's been sitting on his music now for since I've known him as a teenager. And I said, why don't you put your music out? And he's like, oh, I've got to get it perfect. Whereas I'm the opposite. I'm not a perfectionist. You can go on my Facebook and you can see when I first started, my work wasn't good. My videos weren't good back in the day. I've kept everything online. You can see my whole progression from when I started. Another person that's done this who I find really inspiring is Iman Ghazi. Do you know Iman Ghazi?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, he's got videos from when he was about 15, 16 years old, like in the gym, with acne, lifting weights. Now he's a multi-millionaire entrepreneur, probably like 25 years old. So I like the fact that nothing has to be perfect, and if you just you've got to have love. Love and passion is everything, and also being consistent. It doesn't matter if it's good or not. If you love it and you're consistent and you show up and you show up and you show up and you just never quit because you love it and you do it for the love, then it doesn't matter if you make it or if you don't make it, because you love what you're doing and you're going to grow in some way or another.
Yeah, I think we've been kind of fooled into what we feel is the goal, right? Because I think a lot of people look at money as the goal, and obviously we live in society now where we have to, we have to have money to live. We can't just live for free.
I also think social media.
Yeah.
Look, you go online, right? Unless there's that odd account that's really vulnerable and explains how bad their life is or what they're going through, everyone's profiles is a portfolio of an amazing life. Whereas, I guess when we started out, especially when we started out, we didn't have any in that, and we were just hustling, grinding. It didn't matter that we didn't have money in our pocket. We were just having a laugh.
Yeah.
And I think there was like beauty in just the we're playing, weren't we? It didn't seem like work ever, did it? Was there one moment where it felt like we were working? We were playing, we were having a laugh. We had like boys group chats, and there was always a progression there because we always wanted to do something that felt fun, creative, and there was energy.
Yeah.
And when there's energy in something, it's always going to grow.
Yeah, it's quite interesting actually, because looking back at it, like you say, when I was talking about it, you think about all these moments, but looking back at actually our group, we were kind of the ones that led it, wasn't it? It was either you taking us somewhere in London or me DJing, and that was kind of how everyone's life went. And it's funny now when you look back at it and you look at, I mean, it's really me and you that have only ever left, isn't it? Really?
I think our groups, we stood out because we didn't care what people thought. I remember that so many people used to come up to me and go, "Yo, are you boys gay? You like gay?" And I was like, why is that even a thing? But I didn't care. Like we wore flamboyant clothes. Like, we kiss and tell. We threw these like topless parties. We were messing around. Yeah, I think we were just young entrepreneurs in the making, trying anything. and making it work. You was a ridiculous promoter. I still tell my younger brother and his generation about your promoting from back in the day.
Yeah.
To inspire them. Yeah. Now
I
two of them
even
are throwing an event because I've told them how you used to do it.
Yeah.
And I was like, we used to do that, and yeah, like.
I don't even. Do you know what the thing is? Again, it's like one of those ones where it's just like I just did whatever I needed to do to make things successful, and I don't even look back in those days and think I was a good promoter. I just was just like you say, I loved it. Do you know what I mean? I loved, and I always. Do you know what I used to?
Energy.
But yeah, exactly. What I used to love about the DJing mod, especially when it was going off, is like I look back on it and I think I was actually really like, and I say to people all the time, I was like, my kind of like pinnacle moment in my life was moving to Dubai, because if it wasn't moving to Dubai, I probably would have followed the DJing route, because I was playing good parties. I remember once when I had some big DJs. I remember when I was playing at Pack Lunch, I was playing. I followed on after James Denny, who ended up getting signed to, Jamie Jones and all sorts. And I remember him saying to me, "Can I play with you? Like, your set is on fire." And I look back at those moments, and when I went back to back with Christoph, back to back with Sante, like, and they invited me out for lunch, and I was mixing in those circles. But I always realised that, I think, especially now, because I love going to bed at like 9 o'clock, I just always knew that I probably had to change my lifestyle choices, because if I went down the DJing route, and I do love a party, don't get me wrong. But you said that, and it was actually, I look back at that now and think that was a very like big moment in.
Well, I think I know
life.
what inspired all of that, and just sitting here now, and I've just had a memory. If you think of our group, we were all going to the gym. There was a lot of self-development between all of us. Like, we were young lads, and we all wanted to get in good shape, and we all kept each other accountable with banter. It was very harsh on each other. The amount of times we were insulting each other and putting each other down in a way to level each other up. And I remember, like, you was training in a bin bag to cut your weight.
Yeah.
And I've never seen any discipline like it. You was adamant, I'm going to lose this body fat for this party. And I've never seen someone grind so hard, like cardio, weights, diet, you're DJing, you're working in your office job. You'd come back, you'd split the bin bag, the water would come out. You're so focused. I remember you doing a topless photo shoot. And, and I think, like, I had my older cousin, Aisha. He was someone for me to look up to. My older cousin, Paris. They're in good shape. So I think, if I didn't have certain role models and lads that were in good shape as well, I don't think I would have maybe had the work ethic I do now in my professional career. Because at a young age, having people who I saw above me in certain aspects, especially when it comes to being athletic and fit, I think that sort of discipline and consistency sort of rubbed off in my life now.
Who would you say you look up to most now then? Because again,
My father. Always.
Because that's one of the things I think I've struggled with, especially before and we'll come on to this later on, and talking about like how much enjoyment you find life, and I think when you reach a certain level, you then become the person that everyone looks up to, and then it's very difficult to be inspired, because the people around you are looking up to you rather than you're looking up to people that inspire you. So you say obviously Dad, but why did your dad inspire you?
My dad inspires me because he's always someone that's told me that anything's possible. From a young age, he said, he always used to mention the universe, believe in the universe. The universe has got your back. He's always got really great analogies, a way of sort of like making me see things a bit clearer. He keeps me accountable. He's not one who's gonna, always big me up. He'll also like, put me in my place and put me into a good perspective. Not only that, he's travelled around the world as a musician. Family came from nothing. I didn't realise until last year. My mum said actually my father was on the dole, working in a pub, as a travelling musician. Now he owns multiple businesses and he's pretty successful. And I think me watching my father growing up, my dad used to take me for runs at 7 a.m. when I was at school. You know how much running I do. And I think, where's this come from? It's my dad. Like, I wasn't fit enough to run with my dad, so I'd be on a push bike. So my dad set an example at a young age. I think it was middle school. He would run in the morning before sunrise, and I'd be on the bike following him. And then at the end of every run, he said, you always have to sprint finish. And like, no matter how tired you are, you just go for it. Watching him dedicate to business his whole life, watching him with the music, also just watching him being stable with my mum and family. Like I think that actually big inspirations like my family, very traditional. They've all stuck together. My mum and dad worked together really hard. No matter what, they've always looked after us three boys. I think that for me is a positive role model and inspiration, and I want to become like that for my child when I decide to have a kid.
Yeah.
So,
do you think you will follow that road, like that route of life? Because obviously, I think we're both 35 now, and this
is going to be an interesting one.
When our parents were 35,
they were married with kids, and I think things change. And even the concept of kids, I think to myself, I love my life so much. I mean, it's a bit of a selfish, I suppose, response to this, but I just look at my life now. I think my life is so good. Like, why would I want more responsibility when I can just up and leave and do whatever I want and travel to the places that I want?
So I'm probably going to surprise you here. So
do you want that life?
yes and no. Yeah, in my own way. Kids. I'd say in the past year, kids have been in the back of my head a lot, more than ever. When we're talking about purpose earlier, sometimes I hit walls where I feel lost and I think, what am I doing? When I said in the car, I feel stagnant.
Yeah.
I think the stagnation comes from like, I feel like I've completed most of my goals. Like, what haven't I done? Every goal that I pretty much had. Like, I remember there's a piece of paper when I was in the taxi office, and it had a list of all the things I ever wanted to do in my life. There's only one thing I haven't ticked on that, and that's being a full-time life coach, and I'd love to do that one day, to help mentor people. But other than that, I've done everything. I've travelled the world. I became I get paid to travel. I'm a photographer. I'm just everything I've ever wanted, I've done it. From the people that I've wanted to work with, the brands, everything, I've done it, and it's just repetition. I'm just doing the same sort of thing. And it hit me one day. I was like, why is there something still a little bit missing? What is it? And then I remember I made a short film about my life and where I've come from, and I said to my mum and dad, could you send me some pictures of my childhood with you lot in it? As soon as I saw the photos of me, mum and dad, and just loads of photos of my dad, I noticed that every photo was me travelling the world with my father and my mum, and I was like, fuck, I think the next thing for me is family, It was deep, because at the same time, it's like, if you are to jump into a family, like, what is the cost? What is the cost? Am I going to lose all this lifestyle? What sort of woman will it take to... I don't know, it's such a deep and complex thing, I spoke to my grandmother about it. She's like, well, you can't have a kid because you're off travelling around the world. You have to pick one or the other. You either come back to Northampton and settle down, or you just run around and know what you're doing. It's impossible. And I'm like, I don't believe it's impossible. I do believe if you find the right partner, you could do it. But I don't know, I still feel, I'm still young, but I'm not ruling it out, no.
Yeah, I think that generation is quite interesting because, my grandparents, God bless them, they're not around anymore. But they were really, there's never going to be a generation like our grandparents. What they went through when they were our age is like crazy. The sort of stuff that they've gone when they were children and kids.
Well, I think they're the healthiest generation, Danny.
Yeah.
Because when my grandfather passed away, right, I noticed that my grandmother, she's so positive, right? She's lost her soulmate, yet she picks up the whole family. And then my father has lost his dad. Same thing, lifts the whole family, very positive outlook. I go for a breakup and it fucking throws me off the rails. I'm around a load of my friends, little tiny things happen and they go off the rails, or little things are affecting people a lot more. And I think that generation's like, they seem happier. They don't seem to go through like depression. They don't seem to be anxious. Mental health don't seem to be a problem like we're seeing with the younger generation. So this is also why I'm started questioning. Actually, I do think some traditional things like having a family and all these other things actually are really good.
Yeah.
And I think this comes back to the whole social media thing. We're always looking to have more, do more. You've got dating apps. It's like a disposable fake reality. You could be in a relationship, but you also know that you could entertain someone from halfway across the world by liking pictures and talking, vice versa. Same things with like dating apps. You could be in a relationship, you could have one argument, and then either you or your partner could be like tempted to give attention elsewhere. Whereas the older generation didn't have that much access to the world, did they? They didn't have smartphones. They had a map, a radio, a Walkman, and good times, and disposable cameras and printing their photos. And I think they actually enjoyed life in the moment more. There was more in the present, and they seem happier.
Yeah.
If you're around anyone that's above sort of 40, they really understand that sort of older world.
Yeah.
And I think.
Well, I think they experience a lot more as well. I think, my nan used to tell me about times when she was cycling home from, I think, school, and she'd see bombers going over to bomb, whether it was German bombers or whether it was bombers from England going to bomb in European cities when the war was on. And you just think, geez, like that concept in itself is wild. Whilst there is war and everything, we don't get exposed to it because we're not around it. We see it, and obviously the stuff that's going on in the world right now is horrific, but because we don't actually have to go and experience it and be on the front line, I think...
Well, we don't deal with no hardship.
It does make us really soft, as, and I see it now, especially as somebody that's actually gone on to build a career and manage people and have a team. Everyone's soft. Everyone's soft, you know. People get offended by the tiniest littlest thing.
Don't get me started.
And I just think to myself, like,
I've had people getting offended by a change in video. So if I need work change or something, and they can get sensitive and offended. And when it's spilling over into the workplace, when you can't give criticism, that's not good.
Yeah.
Like I said, when my tutor said, your work's shit. If I was really soft, that could have broke me, and I wouldn't be sat here now, and I would be probably doing a job that I don't want for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I think it's so important for character building is to like take criticism. And I always, do you know what I always used to think that a lot of the people that I used to work for, I used to think, dickheads. But like whenever they backed me into a corner, I always came out much stronger, and I feel like that was just because of my resilience, especially from my parents teaching that, especially my mum within me, of like, there's going to be hard times, and I did experience myself a lot of hard times. So I think, you just got to learn to come back from it. And I think, I was saying to you in the car about self-confidence, and I think self-confidence comes from within. I think in today's age we look for validation outside, whereas I know I always talk about when launching Anthem, I always say we, and everyone was like, why do you say we? Who's the other founder? I'm like, my brain. And they're like, what does that mean? And I'm like, well, I'm a person, but I also have my brain, and we talk to each other in dialogue all the time. And I think,
well, that's why I asked you in the car earlier, because you heard the word we as well. I said it.
One thing we have to do is never lie to ourselves. You hear most of the successful people in the world, they'll always say, you get like imposter syndrome, and the reason why you get imposter syndrome is because, technically you've basically said you're going to do something and you don't do it, so then you doubt it. But if imagine, like, for you, for example, if you prepare for a shoot, you're going to go to a shoot and you're going to know you're going to smash it because you prepared for it. But if you just go, oh fuck it, I'm going to go do a shoot, you might be a little bit nervous because you're thinking, I haven't thought this process out properly. Whereas I think if you back it up with undeniable evidence, just like self-confidence, setting out, things in your life like waking up early, working out, eating healthy, just stick to those things. If you say you're going to go into monk mode and not drink, do it. Do that and set yourself, and then that way, if you slip out of it, you've then lied to yourself, and that where I think you fall into the kind of lacking self-confidence, because deep down within yourself you can't do it because you haven't set up key fundamentals to make sure that the basics are done correctly, which means you have confidence that you can do something. Do you see where I'm coming from with this?
I also think another thing you could add on to that, I could be the most unprepared for a shoot and fuck up and not have, say if I've forgot something or it could be, some people might feel out of their depths, and I never feel this. I'm a very calm person, and I don't ever feel unconfident in this realm, and I believe that's because if you do something so much, like hours and hours and hours and hours, and you repeat something to the point where you could do it drunk, you could do it half asleep, you could do it in your sleep, that sort of, that confidence as well is ridiculous. Like any skill or any talent you ever want to pick up, if you just graft at it for years and years and years and dedicate your whole life at it, you'll be so confident to the point where like you don't ever have doubt in yourself. You're a professional. You know that no matter what happens and you go on set, you're going to be a problem solver. You're going to be able to do everything, and you're going to be able to do it. I think that's also another one you can add on to there.
Yeah.
Repetition. Is it the 10,000 hour sort of analogy? Have you heard that?
Yeah, 10,000 hours. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know the full thing, but I just know that if you just do, I've had a camera in my hand since I was 16, so like I'm never not going to be confident with a camera. I think if you apply that with anything, like honestly, you can have the same thing. It could be anything. It could even be talking to girls. If you just literally apply yourself, like, and just dedicate anything you want to do, there will be I don't know how you couldn't be confident within yourself. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Yeah, and going back to something you said earlier on about failure. I mean, there was a guy that I interviewed called Dan Ashburn, and he's got a really successful like Amazon growth business, and he was the first one that kind of introduced me to the concept of failure. Because I always managed to come back from failures, but I never thought of it as a thing. But he said something to me that really resonated, and you said it kind of at the beginning, was, you'll be successful when you start failing faster. And ever since he said that, I've started to notice it a lot more. And you mentioned it about failure being important. So tell us about how failure has actually been a part of you being successful in what you're doing right now.
Failure humbles you. Like it humbles you. Like say you could be so confident, you could have the biggest ego, you could feel like you can go and get everything, and then that little failure can sort of bring you back to reality, and it can put you in check. And depending on how your mindset is and how you see it, that could either be a positive or a negative. A positive could be like, right, this doesn't work, and I've learned from that. Maybe I'm taking one step back and I can go 10 steps forwards. And if I maybe don't do that again, but I could do this or that, and rethink the situation. But at the same time, depending on your mindset, if you're naturally a negative sort of person, that could really knock you back. But me personally, I've never really been one to. I can moan a lot. Some people might say I'm negative because maybe I moan a lot about certain things, but I think I'm just a realist. Like if it's cold outside, I'll say it's cold. If it's hot outside, it's hot. If I'm happy, I'm happy. If I'm sad, I'm sad. I'm always very transparent and truthful about how I'm feeling and what's going on. And I think so when it comes to failing, I don't give a shit. Being honest with you, I'm just like, oh, that didn't work. It's not the end of the world. Move on. Yeah. What's the point? Like. I've had a few friends that have lost a bit of money or something's happened to them and they just can't let go. They're like, nah, I need to fight, I need to chase, I need to do all these things. And I'm owed a bit of money from people, and sometimes like I get told, oh, you're being weak. I'm like, no, I see there's no point me chasing that little bit of money or a little bit, putting so much energy into something so minute where I can just let go, just accept. Acceptance is massive. So when you fail, if you also have acceptance, look, I failed, I accept it. I can see what didn't work, what did work. Now when I go at it again, or if I go at something new, just keep trying again. And the more you do it, you're going to callous yourself and become harder, more resilient to stress and pressure. I remember, God, the amount of times like all of us have failed in something, and it makes you stronger. And I think now we've got this generation that are too scared to fail. And when they do fail, they like really, really feel it. It makes them feel insecure and weak, and they crumble. And I think, I've failed loads of times. The amount of times I fell off my bike or fell over skateboarding, little things like that, or, even talk, trying to, when I was younger, when I first asked a girl out to go out with me in a relationship, I remember ringing the landline to her mum, like, oh, hey, can I speak to this girl? And she was like, yeah. And I asked her out, oh, please will you go out with me to go to school on the Monday? And she's like, yeah, you're dumped. Little failures all the time, and you're just like, what, do you just give up there and just stay single your whole life or not? I was so scared and shy when I was younger. I was like, I have to do it again, and I did. Another girl picked up the telephone. It was another failure. She said the same thing. Don't want to be with you. Bang. Like, what do I just accept that? No, you've got to keep going.
Keep going, yeah.
And it does feel like shit. It is going to make you feel weak, and you're going to feel like weird and emotional. You're going to feel all those things, but do you know what? That one loss there has made you stronger. Because you got it again, and the more you trip it, the more you fail, the more you're just going to get used to it, and then you will feel calm. You won't feel the pressure. And look, a year ago I wouldn't be able to sit here talking on a camera.
Yeah.
And I've had to. You just get better the more you do something. So yeah, don't see failure as a negative. It's positive. Completely.
Yeah. So whilst we're on the topic of emotions and last year and stuff like that, let's rewind a bit, because obviously you've had some pretty pinnacle moments in your life, especially when it comes to love. Yeah. So let's talk about that a bit, because, obviously listeners listening into this, you had a relationship where, you helped that girl become what she is now, and she ended up leaving you for another man. So how was that? How was that as a process of like having to deal with it, function it, and then move on from it? Because that is obviously going to be especially with ego and failure, it's like a dent to the ego, and it's like I've been there before, and I think anyone that's listening in.
So this will be the first time you're actually talking about all this on camera. This moment in life changed me, changed my life, changed everything. I went from, well, you already know, I went from being the party boy in my young 20s, and it was wild. I met a girl, and she sort of slowed me down in the aspect of destroying myself and going on this mad party bender. And she was the backbone of me really pushing my photography, and she supported me to travel around the world. I was dating someone who was very, very sort of secure and confident, believed in me, loved me, and I was in a 7-year relationship and everything was going good. And then it came to a point in my life where I'd also, so it was in 2018 now, I realised I needed to make a change in my career. I was like, I need to get out of the nightclubs, like filming the nightclubs. I'd shot everything. I'd just done, I was the first, I think they told me I was the first official videographer at DC10 at the time, and I was just like, well, that was my number one goal. Like, and then I'd done everything else. And then I came out, I put it on Facebook, I retired from doing nightlife, and at the same time I went through a breakup. My whole world just came crashing down in front of me. Found out that now she's within a month, she's staying with someone I know, and you know, it hit me hard because I thought, why is this hurting so much? Where's this pain come from? And you know, sometimes I think, oh, has this come from like a childhood trauma and stuff like that? And I went, no, actually, my childhood was so squeaky clean. It's so protected. This is the first actual major hurdle in my life. It's the first bit of hardship. I've not had a hard life, sort of before 2018, other than things where I decided to have a hard life, like me putting myself out there. But an actual thing that I can control that hit me. It was the first time where I actually experienced such a hard thing that it battered me in so many different ways. And you know, I couldn't sleep, I had insomnia, you know, my emotions were all over the place. You know, my life was wild at the time, and I was thinking, like, I can't get out of my head, I can't sleep, what shall I do? At the time, I think I was 28, 29, I hadn't even learnt to drive at that time. I was like, right, I went into self-development mode. I was like, right, let's keep training, let's start learning how to drive a car. So I got on my feet. You know, I started making good money, my career changed, travelling around the world. Yeah, it was a really sort of like up and down weird world. Like I was getting in and out of like really bad toxic relationships. I think the past 6 years have been, and it's still continuing to this day, have been the most mental challenging times of my life for the past 6 years. But everything that I'm learning and all these constant little failures and these ups and downs, it's transforming me into this person that's becoming more and more like the man I want to be. You know, when I see these influences from my father and other people that I've seen online and stuff, I'm becoming such a stronger and more wiser person, and also more calm. And I guess I've become closer to God as well. That's another thing. Like I feel a lot more at peace about things. I don't stress as much as I used to. Things don't bother me as much, and so much gratitude of life and acceptance has come out of so many setbacks. It's naturally made me a lot more happier with other things that might have not made me happy when I was younger. But yeah, it was a very difficult process because I found myself like living in Ibiza, going through something. When you think you're going to spend the rest of your life with someone, I thought, not I was going to get married, but I thought I was going to be with this woman for the rest of my life. So going from that to you haven't got that, you know, this person was friends with all my friends here. I had to make new friendship groups, meet new people. It was really difficult. I also realised that things like alcohol was never good for my emotions. So if you're going through like a really stressful time and you're an emotional man, things like drinking is not going to be good. So I've learned, you know, over the past sort of year, I've incorporated things like thrown in a monk mode where I will just not drink. I won't party, and I'll just like knuckle down on work, you know, working out. I'll read books, I'll write, journal, I'll take time out for myself and do more wholesome things. And I noticed actually my mental stability was so much better. Like, my emotions were so much better. Like, say something did happen that was bad and it knocked me back, I'll be like, I'm cool, I've accepted it, I know how to move on from it, I know how to work on it. I could be a lot more rational. Whereas like when you're in that stage where, you know, maybe you are going for a breakup, and you're partying, you're chasing women, and you're going all up and down. A lot of people are going to be on drugs and stuff. Like your emotions, and a lot of my mates who do this, their emotions are all like fucking up and down. So yeah, learn a lot. And I don't know if you know, like I've wrote one book already based on this subject, and I'm writing my second book at the moment because I want to teach men actually how to sort of navigate heartbreak. So yeah. I'm writing a book actually called the Heartbreak Handbook currently. Don't know if you knew that.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I'll have to show. I've actually printed out a hard copy of the first one. But yeah, the second one, I do want to publish it sometime. Yeah, the Heartbreak Handbook. I want to help people, like some of my mates at home, like someone like Leigh, for example. And I want to help people because not every man is like. A lot of men don't talk. They don't talk about the vulnerability. I don't give a shit. I'm sitting in front of the camera and saying it. Like, there's been times where I'm driving my car and I'm crying. I'm thinking, why am I crying? Why am I getting to a point where, you know, like life's beating me down? I never give up. I never stop. I've got that sort of consistency, and you know, like I was saying earlier. So yeah, I want to inspire and help other people because there are a group of men that are weak and fragile. And I think when you see people, I've spoke to people on the streets that are living on the streets, and I said, you know, how come you're in this situation? And about 5 times out of 10, it's been women related, where they've lost their family or lost their partner. You know, they've either been left or they've deceased and passed away. And some of these men they've had businesses, they've been really on top of the world, and their emotions have just got the better of them, and they've just gone and either destroyed themselves or lost all their money, no motivation, no purpose, and broken down. So like me writing these books at the moment is I want to sort of navigate the emotional man to actually give him that more mental sort of resilience and make his emotions stronger, so then he can fight on and maybe not make bad choices all the time. So
Yeah. If you're on YouTube, I'm like literally looking out and I can't see anything but water, and it's like, it's actually like when you think about it and sit here and go, wow, we actually live in such a beautiful place. Like, just what an amazing, like, and we don't need much. Do you know what I mean? It's like, surround yourself and just be happy. Do you know what I mean?
Less is more. I've always believed less is more. Like, the amount of times I get called, like boring bastard, and I don't go out and I don't party, or I'm not chasing girls, and I actually get so much fulfillment of just sitting on the edge. This is my favourite spot. This is why I wanted to come here. I literally just sit here by myself sometimes with my laptop. I do my journaling, writing my books, listen to music, go snorkeling. You know, you don't actually need that much in life. You know, if you don't have much around you, I sometimes feel like some of the happiest people on the planet are actually the ones that have got less.
Yeah.
You know, the more you declutter your life and you have less, there is happiness. And then if you can fundamentally be happy with less, when you start having more, you've got more appreciation for it, rather than if you've always got more and always got too much.
I actually interviewed someone the other day. The other day, it was last year. This all kind of merged into one, but he actually said something to me that was really just like, you know, it made a lot of sense to me, and I thought, you know what, everyone needs to kind of have that mindset. And it was the analogy of like glass half full or glass half empty. And he was like, I don't know what you're talking about. My glass is overflowing. You guys, I don't care what anyone's life is. At the end of the day, like, you know, there's tough things in life, but ultimately we're still here. We're still living life. So, you know, the glass is overflowing. You know, whilst I'm able to walk on two legs, have food in my fridge and a house over my head, I'm happy. You know, and I think thinking about that is actually quite important, because, you know, back in the day when we were, you know, just living in caves and stuff like that, it was just to eat, procreate, and survive, and that was it.
Speaking on that, actually, depression's a hot topic all the time. I feel depressed, right? Never really understood it. Going for a breakup, and also I don't have a normal life. I'm just going to say I do not have a normal life. I've got access to everything I want. I can be around the hottest women. You already know this. I can be around the hottest women. I could be on a yacht. I could be in the best DJ booth. I've been on private jet. I've got access to being a camera. I've got access to everything. And with that, it's hard to be excited and happy with stuff, because I'm just everything's extreme all the time. So when I go back to England, I do tap into, I call it seasonal depression, where I do feel like, oh, this is shit. But I also keep myself there in a little way to sort of ground myself. And I think when we say like, oh, you just got to be happy and all these things, not everyone's able to just be happy. And I think this is where you have to really work hard at it. So like, if you really do feel shit in your life, you don't feel happy, and you've got all these amazing things around you, or it could be anything. It's hard to explain it, but you have to. You said it earlier when we was getting out of the car. You fail and you fail for yourself. You've got to give yourself a purpose. So if you ever feel like you're lacking purpose and you haven't got something, you've got to find something. So my basic principles are, you know, if you feel like shit, you're not happy, you feel lost, you don't know what you want to do, you've got no money in your pocket, you might not have a girl, all these things. Train every day. You have to train every day. And you have to focus on a few different things. So I pick language learning, read books, you know, and I train, crack on with my business. And even through the lowest periods, after a while you elevate, man. You elevate, especially if you stay clean, keep off the alcohol, train loads, the endorphins kick in. So if you do ever feel like you can't be happy, even you've got all these amazing things, I do think like your health. If you eat really good food and you put good nutrition in, and you get a good sweat on, like, I don't know, I can't explain it, but your brain and your whole everything, it comes to energy and vibration, everything elevates again.
Yeah.
You know, if you've got a sports car and you're putting shit in your car's not going to operate properly.
100%. 100%. And I think that you hit the nail on the head there, and it is so true. But for somebody that, I mean, you talk about seasonal depression, but for somebody that has, as you mentioned there, like everything in your life, how do you remain happy then? Like, how do you stay in a good mental state when you have, as you said, everything that you kind of wanted in life?
That's the thing, I'm not always happy, that's the thing. There's a lot of times where I'm not happy, and I was like, is this normal? What's going on? And then when I listen to people like Andrew Tate, and he's like, you know, fuck happiness, grind and all that, I go, all right, I'll give that a go. And do you know what? It does help, because if you go, oh, I'm unhappy, fuck it, I'll throw the towel in, your life will just go further down in the drain.
Yeah.
So if you go, look, I'm unhappy, but I'm still going to show up and train. I feel sad today, I'm still going to show up and train. I feel good today, I'm going to show up and train. You consistently do that shit. Listening to Tate, mate, like, and people like David Goggins, and there was people even before that, people like my father as well. No matter what happens, right, it doesn't matter how bad a day has been for my dad, or good, or what's going on, Dad consistently does the same things every day.
Yeah.
And, so that's what I'm saying, having a father figure, seeing people online, I think that's the key to it. Just don't focus on like, I need to be happy, because if you focus on I need to be happy, you could take drugs that will make you happy, you can get into gambling, prostitutes, fucking alcohol, racing sports cars, you could do anything. You could do the most extreme things to fill that void of happiness. But if you just do the basic things and try and get happy with doing, maybe finding happiness by helping someone actually.
Yeah, I get a lot of fulfillment from helping other people.
There's an old man that I help.
It's a really nice kind of like feeling, and I know sometimes it sounds a little bit selfish that helping others makes you feel good, but I suppose it's a good thing. But actually tell us about that, because you've got an adopted grandfather on the island,
Yeah.
And I think this is an important story, because you were telling me about
his story. This, yeah.
But tell me a bit about him and what role he's played in your life.
I feel like we saved each other. So I found him. I was driving in a car, and I had 3 of my girl housemates with me. I drove past this guy on the floor. He was in the middle of nowhere, and I thought, he don't look good. And I sort of stopped and looked. So I said, right, I'm going to go back for him. So I dropped the girls off, and I came back. And I was like, you right, mate? You okay? And I saw him. He had a whole chicken on the floor. He was smashed. He was so drunk, and he had a bottle of wine. And he said, there's no buses, and I can't get a taxi. And he was really old. So he turns out he was 80. I was like, shit. I was like, do you need a lift home? He goes, yeah. So I took him home, and he showed me where he lives. And he lives in this little wooden shack on the beach. And he's got no running water, no electricity, and he's blind in one eye. He has to have a walking stick, and his legs don't work properly. He doesn't function properly, but he's shredded. He's in like really good health, like upper body. Like every day he has to collect 20 big bottles of water from the sea, and that's his exercise. And he used to be. He said he was an ex-millionaire. Sold drugs. He had a clothing store in the UK. He travelled. He's never been in a relationship. He's had loads of women in his life. He's had an extreme life, but he said he's happier now with less. And the thing is, I've lost both of my grandfathers, so he's the closest thing to having a grandfather. So I dedicated myself to visit him as much as possible and help him out. He needs help with, getting the groceries. He can't wash his clothes, so I take him to the laundry, do his clothes. He loves to drink, so I'll go and buy him a bottle of red wine. We sit and have a red wine. I take my Bluetooth speaker there, and we listen to all these old music from the 50s, 60s, 70s. And he just has a whale of a time, and his brain's intact still. Like, his mental health is perfect, his memory's perfect, and he's in survival mode. And I've learned so much. It's like he's got nothing, but because of that, because he's still in survival mode. Like his mental health is great. He's so positive all the time, and I don't know, just I get such a good feeling of like seeing him happy. The other day I picked him up and got him some gas canisters, so they're fucking heavy, and he can't do that. I had to drive and get these gas canisters, so he's got gas for the whole winter, so he can cook some food. And just seeing the happiness on his face because he's got this gas canister, like it made me smile. And I think I want to be happy off little things like getting a gas canister. Do you know what I mean? Like happiness now for me, like it was at a point where like, I have to be on a boat, or I have to be around certain girls, or I have to be in the DJ booth, or I have to do all these things. Whereas, now I get happy off just seeing the old man.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's such an important thing that so many people can learn from. Is just those little things, just those little things. Because, like you say, it's like we always take life for granted, and I think the hardest part about life is that our expectations of what our life should be like. It's like we don't. You're not put on this earth to have anything in life. You should basically just enjoy what you already have, and then just go from there. And if you get more, great. But it's great to say that. But like you say, I think it's difficult. But how do you see, in future? Because it's only getting harder, because you've got AI, you've got people. I mean, like people posing with fake watches and this and that and the other. So I don't ever see it getting any easier, because people's expectations of life I feel is just going to get harder and harder and harder.
Yeah, it's worrying, but at the same time, is it worth fixating on that? No. Again, listening to someone like Andrew Tate, he's like, look, you need to fucking grind now and prepare yourself, because the world's about to change, But at the same time, seeing an 80-year-old in survival mode, living off minimal, we're stronger than we think.
Yeah.
We're stronger than we think. And I think instead of tapping into fear lowers your energy, right? As soon as you start tapping into fear, it ruins your mental health. It's going to ruin your physical health. If you're in a bad headspace and you've got fear, your immune system's going to get. I believe anyway. Like, I don't know if it's a scientific thing, but I do believe it really ruins your like self. And
yeah,
you just got to be strong and positive in the fact that bad things are always going to happen to us. and it's how you deal with it. And you can't control some things that are going to happen to us, you know. We don't know what's going to happen, you know. I might have a bad accident later on today, and it's only how you deal with it afterwards. And you've just got to be positive in the fact that no matter what, I'm going to consistently take a step forwards. Like running a marathon, it's just one step.
Yeah.
And it could be painful, it's going to be shit. But you don't stop, you just keep going and keep going and keep going. And I guess it could be a form of torture in a way, but if you can find peace and happiness within that, think of what sort of person you're going to be moving forwards.
Do you think Andrew Tate is a positive impact on men?
I can only speak for myself, yeah.
Yeah.
Massively.
What positives did you take from it?
First one, again, like, don't be so impulsive on your feelings. Oh, I don't feel good today, so maybe I won't do this. Like, what I've picked up from him is just like, look, if you're happy or sad, you do the same thing. You consistently do something. I think that's a really big one. Fighting, martial arts. You know, I've dedicated so much time to boxing and Muay Thai because, you know, at the end of the day, like, if I do have a kid one day, or if I've got a woman to protect and someone fucking starts on me, I don't want to be some like weak man who's going to be scared and not be able to handle myself. Not necessarily that I have to fight the person, but to have the confidence that I can handle myself and a bit more confidence. So also getting your money in order rather than like chasing women and chasing all these external highs. Get yourself in order, you know, work hard, knuckle down, focus on self-development and become the best version of yourself. I picked these sort of traits up from Andrew, you know. It's easy, you can say, he's a misogynist, he's a woman, he's done all these different things now. Again, you just focus on negative shit. There's positives and negatives you can take from any human being, and the things I've taken from him have actually got me out of a lot of holes. And because of that, I'll listen to him.
Do you
Doesn't
think
mean I agree with everything he says.
Do you think he's kind of being set up in the situation that he's in now?
No idea.
Because we were talking about earlier on. It's like we were talking earlier on about a higher power, and I do believe that there's like something that we cannot find imaginable that happens where they're basically controlling every narrative that goes out, you know. And I do believe that happens, and I think people that come out and question the narrative, like your Russell Brands, like your Andrew Tates, like your Joe Rogans, they try and shut them down.
Because he's influencing
a lot of people.
A lot of men to. Well, another thing, actually, I'd say years ago, I was the 50-50 guy. I'd be like 50-50. Yeah, I look after women around me now. I want to protect, like, make sure they get home okay. Like, make sure you get home okay. You know, I am paying for things. Not saying that, you know, I'm treating gold diggers and stuff like that, but I have become a lot more of a gentleman. I have become someone that's embraced more of these masculine gentleman traits, and I think the women around me, you know, for friends, could be family, anyone. I think I have had more of a positive, probably, energy around them, if that makes sense. So I've taken a lot of positives from it.
Nice. So, for you then, what's kind of next in your life then? What are the kind of next goals that you want? Because we've obviously spoken about the stuff that you've achieved, and then everything like that. But what's next for you?
Yeah, more money. To work, I want to work. Definitely need to work smarter, not as hard as I am. Like, you can run yourself to the ground, work really hard, but like if you're not working smart, you know, you're not going to actually really do anything. You're just working hard. I do believe you can. You know, I've actually probably made more money in my life now where I use my brain more and delegate and do work differently rather than being the workhorse. So moving forwards, I want to inspire the world. I definitely want to help change men. I want to empower weak, emotional men. So I want to definitely tap into life coaching. I definitely feel like when I look at all the people that I help, I get told by so many of my friends, like, why do you hang out with like losers, or why are you hanging out with these like deadbeats? Why are you always hanging around with these sort of friends groups, or you spend times with like idiots and stuff? And I see the potential and the good in everyone, and I can see the potential in people, and I want to sort of like inspire people to sort of level themselves out a bit. I guess what like my father's done with me, or having people like Andrew to watch and stuff like that. So I definitely want to help and make an impact on people's lives. Definitely want to get out of the camera industry because I don't feel as inspired as I used to, and I want to start creating my own content for myself rather than clients involved. So I guess in the next sort of 5 years, I probably will be living in Asia, teaching people, helping people. I want to help people with their mindset, their mental health, getting training, and most importantly, I want people to believe in themselves.
Yeah.
You know, one of my best mates back home, Leif, I've dedicated so many years to like
helping him.
But as much as people say, why are you wasting your time? I learned so much from it. It's almost like a mirror on myself.
Yeah.
I learned so much, like me seeing things where he can elevate and things that I can teach. I'm also learning things that I can now, what I've implemented in my book. So yeah, I think next direction for me is teaching, inspiring, creating content for myself, and most importantly, looking after my health.
So on that note then, on a kind of final note, so for men listening into this that are feeling a bit vulnerable and don't really have a direction in life, like what would your advice be for them then?
Go do something hard. Go running. Go put on some running shoes and go and do a run. It doesn't matter if it's raining. It doesn't matter if it's hot. Just go do a run and do some push-ups, and keep doing that. And after you've got that consistency going there, then do something else. What are you passionate about? What do you like? What are your interests? Start writing things down. And I don't know. I feel like the reason why I'm saying work out is because you will get in a better energy naturally.
Yeah.
Once you're in a good energy, I think it's a lot easier for your brain to then start tapping into positive things. And
well, if you think about it this way, right? When you work out consistently, it's the only way where you can actually see something changing, right? Whereas if you work on your brain constantly, you don't necessarily see things changing apart from the things around you and stuff like that, but you can't actually see the brain. But I think working out is a great way to start to do things for consistently for a long period of time, look what will change. Whereas you can physically see it with your own eyes, which then helps you understand that if you keep doing things continuously, it's not going to change things overnight, but if you keep doing it continuously over time, things will change, things will improve. And I think working out is the first step to actually improving the mindset and actually achieving things. But do you know what, I actually just started doing the assault bike after every workout. So I go and do a workout in the morning, and everyone's like, why are you doing that? And I'm like, the thing is, it's like when I feel pain, I feel like I'm progressing.
Yes.
Like when I'm really pushing myself to the limits, I'm like, okay, well, I'll push myself to the limits, meaning I've done that now.
You feel like a beast, don't you?
Yeah.
When you do it, yeah.
And the next, and I've always, weirdly enough as well, like going into a bit like health sort of stuff, I've always had asthma, and moving to Dubai really ruined because it's very dusty and the air quality is not great in summer. Really affected my asthma. I started taking inhalers again. But honestly, since I've started doing some like beast mode cardio, I don't need my inhaler anymore.
Cardio's king. I do so much cardio, and people are like, oh, lift some weights. You need to do this. Oh, you need bigger arms. I'm like, I don't give a shit about that. Like, the cardio is so good for my head. It's so, like, I like running up and down sets of stairs with a weight vest, and people are like, why would you do that in the heat and sweating your tits off? And I'm like, because you feel so empowered. It sucks. Like when I've got an analogy with it. When I see this set, it's like 200 sets of stairs, and I run up and down it with a weight vest. Sometimes with dumbbells. I hate it in a way, but I love it at the same time, because when I'm at the bottom, I say, this is hell. Heaven's at the top, and for you to leave the hell, you need to go through the pain to get to the top. Once you've done like 10 rounds of that and you're at the top and you're sweating and all the endorphins, you've got the biggest smile on your face. Even though you feel pain, your lungs are pounding, your heart's going crazy, you feel good. And once you've cooled down, your whole day just feels amazing. You have loads of energy, you've sweat the toxins out, and it's a game changer for your head, cardio. So I understand it. And
yeah, I always say this, everything in life is on, anything that's good in life is on the outside of the comfort zone. Once you push through that comfort zone, you'll actually start to enjoy different things. But yeah, going back to what I said, the final question, just to summarise, because I kind of interrupted. So people that feel a bit lost, what the advice you'd give them? So first off, do something hard. What else would you say?
Yeah, do something hard consistently, like working out every day. And I always say a minimum of half an hour. We've all got half an hour. Push-ups, squats, go for a run. You don't even have to go to a gym. I don't even use a gym. So working out. And second thing, you feel lost. Maybe write down what sort of life do you want and what life don't you want. I know one thing for sure. I don't want to be sat in my parents' house in England, fucking in a 9-to-5 job. So yeah, I might be lost, but what does it take for me not to be in that position? That's enough for me to at least, even if I don't feel happy in the moment, that's enough for me to not be in that situation. So maybe think of the life you don't want and think, how can I get out of that? That will give you purpose anyway, randomly. You don't even have to think of a dream or an ambition, just what don't I want? What is the worst case scenario that I don't want? And do whatever it takes to not be in that situation. And I think that will be enough for you to then start find purpose. But then also find a hobby or a passion that you like. So for example, I do my filmmaking and photography. I wouldn't say I'm the most passionate about that anymore. It makes me good money. I travel around the world. But my passions now are writing and DJing and making music and doing martial arts. So I've got things that I love, the thing that makes me the money, and then I've got things that make me healthy. Yeah. And I think one thing I'm writing in one of my books, I think you've got 3 circles in life. You've got your relationships, you've got your finances, and you've got your health. And if one of these circles crash, it affects the other one. So like if your health goes out the way, it could affect your finances, and your finances go and it can affect your relationship. If your relationship goes, it could affect your health because you might start partying, and then it might affect your business because your head's not in the game. So these 3 circles, you need to keep them going and look at yourself. Which circle is failing at the moment? Put attention into it. So if your health is, at the moment, I'd say my health is not the best because I've gained a bit of weight, I've been drinking, I've been doing all these things. So now I need to lift the health up a bit, you know. And then you lift the health up a bit, and all of a sudden your relationships and your finances might go up because you've got the energy again. So yeah, those 3 circles: health, your love, and your wealth.
So Harry, thank you so much for having a chat and having a deep, because obviously because we live in different countries, we don't talk that deeply anymore, but we've actually had a time to talk and just converse on some I think what are really important topics in life. So I hope you've enjoyed the episode. Thank you so much. I'm really proud of what you've achieved, man, and
Likewise.
keep doing what you're doing.
Wicked Wednesdays.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So guys, if you tuned in and you enjoyed that episode, especially the backdrop, make sure you show us some love, give us some likes, some follows, and each week I'll keep putting out content like this and introducing you to some fantastic people all over the world. So thanks again, and we'll see you next week.